Good morning, CLC. Thank you for joining us today on this cool 1st November. We're happy to have you. And with that, I ask you to join me in saying, Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And now, I ask you to take a few deep breaths. Relax in this moment. Put the days and weeks that you've had aside, anything you have been coming up, just let it go for now. Relax your body. Relax your mind. Focus your attention on the here and now. Breathe in cool, crisp, calming air. And breathe out all that no longer serves you. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own, for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only constructive, positive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I am willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing the idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words: I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I am grateful for the good in your life. I now open my eyes to the world around me and turn joyfully to anyone in the room or virtually on this program and share my gratitude and confidence in saying, I am grateful for the good in all of your lives. I'm grateful for the good in your life. The good in your life.
Hello, Creative Life. How are you today? I'm here to tell you all the things you should be doing that you haven't done yet. No, not really. In fact, quite the opposite, because everybody else is telling us that. I'm actually here to bring some comfort and some peace and some calm, because it's a time where you're hearing, hurry before it's too late, on absolutely everything. Danielle mentioned voting. Voting is a wonderful thing to do. Voting is a civic joy, not just a civic duty. Because we say we're at choice, right? This is a teaching that says you're a choice. Well, that's a form of choice. That's a form of choice in engagement with the others in our community. Now, one of the things that a spiritual center like ourselves is not permitted to do is endorse particular candidates, but we can talk about issues. And if you've been paying attention, which I know you have, over all the years, the 35, we here last week, 35. We're starting our 36th year. And it's also the Celtic New Year, so it's a whole big do-over. But over all these years we've been together, if you've been paying attention, we've been talking about issues. We've been talking about issues. Oneness has never been on the table. Never been up for debate. The fact that we are one human family, the virtues, the values of unconditional love, forgiveness, gratitude from day one. Because Ernest Holmes was teaching these things, and the people that Ernest Holmes studied were teaching these things. And all the way back through time, in the healthiest trends in human consciousness, these things have been taught. So Creative Life picked up where others left off. And for these years, we've been standing in advocacy of this. We are a welcome and open and affirming spiritual center. That doesn't just mean that we tolerate you, that we let you in and you can sit here if you keep quiet, mind your own business. It means we affirm you, we embrace you. Right now we're having to virtually embrace you. But we stand for something. And there's an old saying that says, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. So we stand for something. And I want you to bear that in mind going forward. However Tuesday works out, however anything works out, there is a place that teaches unwaveringly, unswervingly, the oneness of all life. And we do our best to live this. Now, sometimes we get a little judgy. Sometimes I get a little judgy. But then I remember, wait, I believe in the oneness of all life. And so this person that I don't understand or I don't agree with or whatever, they're still part of that one whole system that I'm part of. And I can relax my own judgment. And I can free myself from this. I was a little judgy when a member of this congregation said to me some years ago, and they had been a member for quite some time, and they'd had some classes and stuff. And one day they happened to say to me, you know, the other day, for the first time, I tried spiritual mind treatment. And my judgment came up around that. I don't think they saw it. Maybe they did, because I don't have a real good poker face, but I was like, and you waited because? But this was all inside me. I was like, this is how clergy are supposed to react. You put your hands kind of like this, and you go, interesting, very, very nice. And you kind of ponder, and you walk with your hands behind your back. And inside, you're this raging judgment, But anyway, I don't think they saw it. And then after the moment passed, and I sat down with myself, I thought to myself, well, here's the good news. They tried it. Not on my schedule. Who cares about my schedule? On their timing, they tried it. They had something go on, and they were reaching around for stuff, They were grasping for something to bring them relief, to bring them peace, to bring them change. And they, this, and they picked it up and they used it. That's great. That's what we're here for. That's what we're in business for at Creative Life. We're not, by the way, a business. We're a nonprofit. Just note that too. So 501c3. So somebody writing all business. Well, must check into that. This is what we're here for. Seriously. So I guess what I'm here to tell you today, and it is starting a series on the I Am, is it is never too late to start a spiritual practice. We get yelled at all the time by the culture. Hurry, but this offer only lasts for as good as supplies, as long as supplies and operators are standing by, and rush, rush, rush. And now as we come to the end of the calendar year, there's an awful lot of stuff in my life and in the world's life that needs to be handled right now before the year turns. And so, putting out fires and crossing T's and dotting I's and all the rest of this. Breathe. Relax. A lot of stuff is coming to a convergence point right now. I read the same news you do. I react to it initially the same way you probably do. Right. You open your phone or wherever you read it, and there's this and there's that. I'm not even going to list all this stuff. You don't need me to list all this stuff, but Plus you have your own stuff. Like, for example, if you have children in school. I don't have children in school. Well, then, that's a concern, right? There's that. The industry you work in has its own particular rhythm and nature. It is affected in a particular way right now. So they're personal things to us. And then there are the things that we're experiencing in common in this country and across the globe. And like you, I seize up when I read some of this. What could happen next? What could happen next? So I have two options. One is I can crawl in a hole. The other is I can climb the mountain. And what I have learned through practice is that crawling in the hole doesn't work, because the stuff finds me anyway. And it shuts me down, and it keeps me small, and it keeps me disengaged. Climbing the mountain works. And by climbing the mountain, I mean you go upstairs in consciousness. There was a wonderful spiritual teacher in religious science years ago, Dr. Homer Johnson, and you've heard me quote him before, and he would say whenever he began prayer, let's go upstairs. He would say that to the group, let's go upstairs. And he meant like the upper room where Jesus and the disciples met. That was the image that he was conveying. Let's go upstairs. But let's go to the mountaintop. Let's climb the mountain. Let's get it. What do you do on top of the mountain? Well, in old mythology, it was closer to God. But also, you go up the mountain, you get a view. See, in the hole, you're looking up at a circle of sunlight maybe, but on top of the mountain, you see it all spread out before you. And you realize from up here, there's tranquility. From up here, there's unity. From up here, there's an orderly progression of things. Just like when you fly, you look out the plane window, and all the fences and borders and stuff drop away, and you just see this beautiful landscape, and it all seems so well tilled, and you see how north of us they now plant crops. They do circles so that the wind from one direction won't carry off all the seeds, And you see the human ingenuity and you see the beauty of nature and all of this. That's the mountaintop experience. Now, we're not talking here about an actual mountain, although if you have a mountain and we're far from mountains here in southeast Texas, but if you have a mountain in your life, you want to climb it, beautiful. We're not talking about going up in an actual plane and looking out the window. But if you want to and are able to do that, beautiful. Here's where everybody can go. To that place in consciousness where nothing has ever been wrong. Where nothing has ever been wrong. On Wednesday night on this stage, we had a wonderful conversation called the Race Conversation. Donald John Lewis Jr. and I had a conversation. You can see it on our Facebook page, shortly on YouTube. And during that conversation, comments came in, questions came in, and we took some of these at the end. And one of the comments had to do with a thing called spiritual bypass. This is a relatively new term, and what spiritual bypass means is basically this: if you come to me with a problem and I kind of bat it away and just tell you to pray about it, I just say, no, everything's perfect. Everything's perfect. God is all there is. And you're like, well, my house is on fire. Well, no, everything's perfect. God is all there is. It's also, my house is on fire, and I'm like, well, what did you do to create that? What learning are you going to draw from that? That's one reaction I could have. Another is to get a fire hose. Another is to call 911. Another is to put on my boots and get in there and work. Spiritual bypass is a way of kicking aside the immediate needs that we and others have to substitute platitudes and phoniness. Well, now that we know that, what do we do? Well, let's not do that. Let's not practice spiritual bypass. Let's practice spiritual direct access, which is, while I'm helping you put out the fire, I'm affirming in my mind there never was a fire and there never could be. There was never harm to you. There never could be, because there is the existence of a perfect state of being from which we have all come. This requires, I got to raise my voice here, this requires the capacity and the willingness to engage paradox, something we in the Western world are not good at. We like stuff in, black and white. We like stuff in just, it's this or that, it's true, false. Sound bites, collapsed language, down into little nuggets of stuff. This requires more of us. This that I'm telling you about. Because you and I are at exactly the same time spiritual beings and having that human experience that I talked about last week. Spiritual beings and having a human experience, and the human experience may look ghastly right now. But the spiritual reality has never been anything but whole, pure, beautiful, complete. There's a song just came into my head. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less, Jeffrey's nodding, how could anyone ever tell you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you were less than whole? I believe that's a David Alt song. How could anyone ever tell you? Because they were speaking out of their own pain. And there are times when we feel less than whole. There are times when we feel less than beautiful. There's something that sees us and holds us that has never seen us as anything less than itself. And that, my friends, is the I am. The I am, spoken of in the 3rd chapter of Exodus, where Moses, this is my version. I should write a version of the Bible someday. People would be horrified, but this is the short, cut to the chase kind of version. So Moses encounters a burning bush, which they think now there are shrubs that exist in the deserts of the Middle East that have oil pods on them, which under enough heat can burst into flame. but the bush itself is not consumed, just the oil pods. So if that renders the story a little less miraculous for you, sorry, but there you are. Just like if Jesus walking on water, there were stones there that only he saw or something, but it's still a cool story, and it still makes a metaphysical point. Well, this bush bursts into flame, and out of the bush to Moses issues the voice of God, which in my understanding is like Moses has a spiritual experience. He has what's called a theophany, a theophantic experience where he senses the deity. He's like, wow, that's miraculous, that's marvelous. We do that sometimes, even today, you and I, right? I mean, something will happen and we're like, that's not just a bird singing in the tree, that's a sign. We have this moment, right? So this is what Moses, and so he engages with the bush, and the upshot of it is in Exodus 6:3, is that the bush, he says to the bush, well, who should I say your name is when I go back to my people? And the bush replies, the voice from the bush replies, I am that I am. And then if you look this up, you'll see there are all sorts of other declensions and conjugations and whatnot of I am that I am. I will be that which I will be, or I have always been that. I mean, it comes out a lot of different ways. The way most of us are used to hearing it is I am that I am. So what does this mean? Well, if you look up the I am, the metaphysical I am, there are all sorts of mystical meanings out there. Whole shelves full of books have been written on the I am presence. To me, it comes down to one of three things. Either the I am, God or the deity, the divine inspiration saying this to Moses, saying one of three things. One is, it could be a blow-off. What's your name? I am that I am. It's like, go away, kid, you bother me. I'm not telling you more than this. It's just kind of, you're not ready for this. Number two is it's a riddle, like the riddle of the Sphinx. Go figure it out. I am that I am. And the third possibility, and it's quite possible all three are true, or none of them, but the third possibility is it says what it says. I am that I am, and it says what it says. I am. So what do we do with the I am? What does this mean? And by the way, 3 chapters later in the same book, God gives Moses another name. He says, I'm Jehovah. I'm Jehovah, the tetragrammaton, the four characters, But what do we do with the I am? Well, I am doing something with it. You are doing something with it. We are doing something with it in real time, in this moment. The I am is the one thing that I always am. Whatever else is going on, I am. Am I successful? Am I happy? Am I this? Maybe, maybe not, but I am. Am I certain? Am I confused? Or somewhere in between? I am. Just as they say about relationships, the one relationship you've had your whole life is with you. Other people, all of them, even real long-lasting ones, have come and gone, but here you are. Well, every experience that you've had in your life, every judgment that's been placed on you or that you've placed on yourself, everything you've tried to do that succeeded or failed, etc., all thrown in a hat, still leaves I am. There's a meditation that we sometimes do in the Heartfelt Living class. It hasn't come up yet, so those of you in the Heartfelt Living class, this is what we're going to do. It's a meditation where you sit there and I ask you to create in your mind's eye a large, clear bubble. Are you a Flaming Lips fan? Then you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, a large, clear bubble. And into the bubble, you put, in a meditative process, your body, your thoughts, your feelings, your memories, your pocket change. I mean, every last thing you have, car keys, phone, everything about you, all your identity is put into the bubble. And you see it there because it's a clear bubble and it's kind of hovering out in front of you. And then I say at the end, Notice that there's still a part of you beholding the bubble. You're not all in there. And you've given it every last thing you can think of to give it. But there is still something regarding it. That is the I am presence of you. That is the eternal and infinite part of you. Now that's good to know. And the eternal and infinite, whenever I say eternal and infinite, what sometimes people want to do is put that in their pocket like a get out of jail free card. Eternity and infinity is great, but I'm young and healthy and I don't need to know about that kind of stuff yet, you know? But bear in mind that eternity and infinity are happening right now. And it's not just a matter of linear time winding down, you know? This place is open today. Eternity is open today. It does not await you after death. Like the pearly gates and stuff that we've been told about. Eternity awaits today. It's a choice away. It's a choice away. You could see spirit instead of this. You could see the infinite instead of the apparent. Instead of the apparent. And the apparent does not leave the stage. Rather, it shows its infinite side, its infinite quality. Take the election. Everybody's voting. Some of us already have. A whole lot of us already have, actually, across the country. And then Tuesday is, you know, the big day. Well, everybody's voting. And they're voting for their candidate of choice, and they're voting around issues, and there's bond issues and stuff too. Different places that have to do with the movement of money and goods and services. But underneath all of that, there are the two principal political parties, right? And a number of others that garner fewer votes. You say, well, are you registered with one of these? Will you fall into that faction, you know? And underneath that, there's a longing. Underneath that, there's a yearning. I want something here. I want something for myself, for my family, and for future generations. And as Donald and I were talking about Wednesday night, we believe, I said and he nodded, so I'm just going to say we both believe, that everybody wants the same thing fundamentally. Fundamentally, meaning peace, safety, security, supply, a sense of purpose, meaning, dignity, respect, that their family is well taken care of, that future generations of their family are well taken care of, and so on. This is what everybody wants deep down inside, a yearning. And underneath the yearning, there's something, which is an image of its fulfillment. And the image of the fulfillment of the yearning is the I am. Everything is reducible, ultimately, therefore, to the I am. It looks like an inverted triangle. It all comes down to the I am presence. And then we get more and more detailed about it, more and more specific about it. And we'll say, well, in my industry or in my way of being or my people, my tribe, my group, my ethnicity, you know, we want this and we need that. And that's as it should be, because that's what we're here to do, is diversify. We are here to diversify spirit. You know who wrote about this? Ernest Holmes, among a great many others. He's the one I chiefly quote in this place. But Ernest Holmes talked about spirit had an idea of itself as a multiplicity of beingness, and so it made you, and so it made me, and it came into form, you know. That's as it should be. And where we go in our spiritual time is to the place where we're just one. And that's what makes it paradoxical. And we, not being wildly enthused about paradoxes, try to make it all one way or the other. And so you'll hear spiritual people say, you shouldn't vote, and you shouldn't serve on a jury, and you shouldn't lift a finger, and you shouldn't do a thing because cancel. You're affirming the negative, and you're giving power to form and matter and all of the rest of this stuff, and you should just stay on that mountaintop forever. And then you'll hear materialists on the other side of the equation say that this is everything I've just told you is baloney. Or as my grandmother used to say, she was old world, she said applesauce. That was her word for you know what. She'd say that's just applesauce, meaning rubbish, you know. Well, so Which is true? Which of the two is true? Both of them, all at once. We don't stay in this place on this mountaintop. We get down there and do the work. Danielle mentioned in the open that we're feeding people in a parking lot in a couple of weeks, as we do quarterly. We do it more often, but it's a lot of work. So we're happy with quarterly right now. We could just affirm and know that all those people get fed and all of that. And you know what? They probably would. They probably would. But we wouldn't get to look them in the eye. We wouldn't get to interact with them and have an experience and feel, oh God, this sounds so selfish, but feel better about ourselves. You know? And there's nothing wrong with that. To feel better about yourself because you did a good thing. You go home at the end of the day and you count up your activities and you think, what did I do today? Did I help somebody? This is stuff we learn like in toddlerhood, basically. Help somebody and it'll make you happy. It will help them and it will make you happy. It's a win-win situation. Instead of, well, this is another day I sat and worried about the future that hasn't happened yet. Instead, I'm out there and I'm doing something. But at the same time as we're feeding the people in the parking lot, what I hope we're not doing, and I don't believe we are, is standing there and saying, damn this hunger. And the system that caused it and the rich fat cat people that don't want to, and going into this whole thing, or the pathos of the condition, and no matter how many, we talked about this Wednesday night, no matter how many of these people we feed, there are always going to be more. And the whole thing is just exhausting. So we walk this balance. We say, the ones I don't get to, somebody will. Something will. We had a guy, the first food drive of this kind that we've done, in February of 19, I guess it was. A guy drove up. We were finished. And everybody had gone but three of us. And we were waiting for the truck to come. I'm remember the reason I slowed down, I'm piecing all of this together from memory because I hadn't planned to go here. But we were waiting for the truck from the food bank to come back to pick something up, and I don't remember what it was. It could have been leftover food, but I don't think so because there basically hasn't really been any. One time we brought home some turnips and stuff. But did you know the first jack-o'-lanterns were turnips? It's true, yeah, look it up. Anyway, there were tarps sitting out and stuff, and three of us, I think Carthel, David, and I, and a guy in a pickup truck drove right up to us. And I kind of, I don't know, reacted, you know. He got out of the truck and he said, what have y'all been doing here? I said, we've been having a food drive. So I saw that. He says, it's starting to rain. Do you need more tarps? I have some at the house to put over whatever was pallets or whatever was sitting there. And I said, no, the truck is supposed to be here any moment now from the food bank. And he said, well, let me know when the next one of these is. I want to help. He gave me his card. Okay? People see this. They drive by. They watch folks do this. Not just us, but out in the world. They watch people help. They watch people care. And they say, I want in on that. Because at the end of this day, I don't want to just ask myself, so what phobias and neuroses did I engage in today, worrying about tomorrow and digging a hole and filling it in. He said, I want to go to sleep tonight with some pride in my own self, in my own capacity to care and to do something useful. So this is called modeling. We model for the world. And every time we model nonviolent engagement for the world, every time we model compassionate care for the world, every time we model, not just talk about it, but show it, do it, show up, you know, in the world, in caring for one another. Others that we cannot even imagine are watching us and taking cues from us and saying, you know, I want that. I want to live like that. I want to be at peace like that. Now, I told you I wasn't going to give a whole bunch of assignments and let's all rally up and do this today, because I know there's a lot of noise right now in the world, in the culture. So what I want to implore everybody to do, and I mean really implore you, is if you've not done spiritual practice before, such as you would call it spiritual practice, this is a fine time. The Celts called yesterday and into today Samhain. It was the beginning of their calendar. Maybe you're not a Celt, but on the other hand, we're all each other. So there's some Celtic stuff going on with you. And why not have it be a new year? Why not have it be a new year in which you do things maybe a little bit differently? And so when you're alarmed, when you're shaken, when you're uncertain, try this. Let's go upstairs. There is one life, one power, one mind. I evoke it now in my own consciousness. It's always present, always open and willing. Now I step into it. I step into that place where nothing has ever been wrong, where everything has always worked, in progression, in construction, building out in form the divine idea. Just as it built out in form me and this body that I wear and this voice that I speak with and all the godlings in my experience, including those who are watching me say these words. This one manifests itself through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of this one. Therefore, everywhere I turn, I encounter the one. If I have been looking for this one, I have been looking with it, through it, at it. And the recognition of this is my spiritual practice. And so I look across the landscape at all the living beings doing what they do, doing the dance of life. And I call each one whole and beautiful and capable and good. I do this from a place within myself that is deeper than opinion, judgment, rationalization, separation. I set aside in my spiritual time even my critical judgment that I so carefully prize and have so well cultivated to be clever in this world, knowing that when I return from my spiritual time into ordinary time, it will still be there, and I can pick it up and become, again, an opinionated person. But for now, I'll go to this place that is only love, without demand, without care. This place that is only love. And I ask it what I should know. And it replies, I am that I am. And I ask it what I should do about this, and it replies, I am that I am. And suddenly there is a deep sense of remembrance within me. This is home. This is the land from which I came. This is heaven. Filled with that peace. I'm ready for anything. for this knowing and its manifestation in form everywhere I turn. I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
Jeffrey has a big job. One, he is an amazing musician. And two, he manages the board. So he turns the mics on and off so that you don't catch us on a hot mic. We know where we are, so we are very respectful of that. But, when you're focused on Jesse, you don't want to be listening to us agreeing with him. So, yeah. So I'm grateful for Jeffrey and the job that he does in managing everything that he does. And I tried to catch him, and I don't know if you guys got to see it. I flipped the camera over where he was playing, just the look on his face while he was playing. No, you looked like you were in rapture. I mean, you were absolutely, it's that rapture of somebody who loves what they do. And if I turned the camera on him now, he'd probably be blushing. So we're not going to do that to him. We're not going to do that to him. We're not going to do that to him. He has been here through, how long has he? 27.
All right, let's count the days, Jesse. 1997, 6 or 7, something like that.
We always dated from a year from your father's passing.
Yeah, all right, so we are history folks. 95, 96, so here we are. Blink of an eye.
Basically what we're saying, he is a very integral part of this place. And he definitely makes our jobs a whole lot easier. So since Thanksgiving is the month of, November is the month of Thanksgiving. It's the month of gratitude. Why not start listing the things that we're grateful for? And we are grateful for Jeffrey, and we are grateful for Jesse, and we are grateful for Brian, and we are grateful for Danielle.
That's correct.
Okay, and we're grateful for Lisa. I'm grateful for Lisa. And Melody. So, and Kenzie, and all of the people who have been, and I could sit here and list names, but if I do, I'm going to forget somebody, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to get in trouble. And all of you who are watching, absolutely. We're grateful for each and every one of you. And I know Jesse talked about the food event, and I'm going to mention it simply because for those of us who have worked it, it works into our consciousness in a way that we can't explain. He mentioned his experience, and one of the most telling experiences for me was a woman who showed up at the food drive, and what she told us was we were an answer to her prayer. So that is one of the greatest gifts that we have when we set out to, even if we don't set out, sometimes we meet people's needs without even knowing that we've done it. We are literally an answer to their prayer. Spirit moves through us because it's the only way it can. All of the things that are done by Spirit are done through us. You are a spiritual conductor, and that energy moves through you out into the world. And we can absolutely change the world. Random acts or intentional acts, one at a time. So in that knowing, and in the knowing of gratitude, I invite you into that sacred space one more time, because it's always sacred. Everything around you is holy. And when we act like it, we do better. So I'm knowing that there is one power, one presence, one life, one love. I am a part of that love. It flows through me, in me, as me, just as I know that it flows through each and every one of you. You are made up of that love. It flows through you. And right now, I am knowing that those channels are open wide. And that love is flowing. And as that love flows through, it does all of the things that we know love does. It brings peace. It brings calm. It brings that wide view from the top of the mountain. It brings healing. And it brings love, togetherness, wholeness, perfection. You are the answer to your own prayer, just as you are the answer to everyone else's prayer, simply by being you. And I know this, and I know this, and I know this, as you know it too. And I know this in all of the gratitude of this month, and I know this in all of the gratitude of spirit. And I relax, release, and know that it is so, and so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust
I
it.
use it.
I use
and
it.
I love it.
And I
And
love
so
it.
it is.
So it is.